What's up, guys? Today we have 76190 Lego Marvel The Infinity Saga Iron Man Ironmonger Mayhem. Now the whole set name is kind of a mouthful, but the set itself I was actually incredibly surprised by, so let's get into it. We'll start with the figures. So for the set we do actually only have two minifigures, a solid little Pepper Potts. Not a whole lot going on here, but it looks pretty good. In Iron Man 1, she isn't wearing too extravagant clothing, nothing crazy out of the ordinary other than her work attire, because that's where most of it takes place. So they pretty much nailed it. It looks pretty good. And then Iron Man, of course, they've got some fantastic details going in there to help emulate what his suit looks like in that final battle in the first movie. And I find it interesting that Lego, for this Iron Man set, unlike the Avengers Helicarrier that came out recently, they went back to the old Iron Man helmet mold, which actually folds up. Now, you probably saw in my Avengers Helicarrier video, the Iron Man in that, and also Wrecker in the Bad Batch shuttle, who happens to use the Iron Man mold, they do not have any fold-up feature like this one does. So I'm kind of interested to see if Lego has abandoned that new mold, or if they're just going back to the classic mold with the folding open face for the Infinity Saga sets. But enough about that. You do have some fantastic printing like you do on plenty of Iron Mans, some fantastic gold going on the legs there, a nice blend of dark red, light red, and then you have the arc reactor in the middle. Unfortunately, no arm printing. I would love to get an Iron Man with arm printing. I don't know if that's a thing. I don't have too many Iron Mans, but if it is, I want it. And then on the backside here, they do have some fantastic printing to help emulate what his armor looks like on the backside as well. And then Tony Stark as well, it does come with a hairpiece. You may have seen it actually sitting on my Obadiah earlier, but it does come with this nice hairpiece. It looks pretty good. I think it's the standard Tony Stark / Robert Downey Jr. hairpiece to use. But he also does have two face prints, one with kind of an inquisitive, normal Tony Stark look, and then one with his Iron Man heads-up display. But speaking of Obadiah, I actually neglected to mention him earlier. I said there were two minifigures. There's actually three. I forgot about this guy. So just like Pepper, Obadiah is mostly seen in normal work attire, nothing too extravagant, nothing too out of the ordinary, because of course he's at work. But it does look pretty good. It's made out of a nice dark blue. The face print kind of does look like Jeff Bridges. They do get the beard right. And then of course he's bald on top. You got some nice wrinkles in there to help emulate his age. Not that he doesn't look good. He looks great. But they did do a nice job on this face print. And of course, because he has nothing to hide an alternative face print, there isn't anything. And then on the torso, there is ever so slightly some printing on there. Just two black lines sitting at the top and the bottom. You can barely see it. But on the front side, they do have the nice jacket, the tie, the color going around, and even the pocket watch with the chain. It looks real good. He's got a nice suit on. I would see a lot of people swapping out this torso on Lego City Mocks and such. But that pretty much covers the figures. Let's move on to the Ironmonger itself. So what you'll notice probably first about this Ironmonger is that a lot of it is made out of that really nice gunmetal gray color. And that's awesome because I love getting that color, but it's not that awesome when it makes it a little hard to get some light on that guy without shining the entire ring light back at him. Alrighty, now we have him in kind of a normal position, and because he's pretty much just a sized up human being, or that's what the mech is, it's going to be a little tough to go over with the normal front to back, so we'll just kind of go over it and see where we end up. So, you guys know me, I'm not a land vehicle guy, I'm not a big mech guy, I'm not a big anything that isn't an interior space shuttle or big cruiser kind of guy. So when I got this, my intent was to review it and then scrap it for parts so I could use this to mod the Star Wars sets of the new wave. But now that I have it all built together and finished, I don't think I'm going to take it apart, and I might actually get another to mod this one with. Now, I'm incredibly impressed by the structural integrity of this mech. I have not had things falling off or snapping off really easily or any inconveniences. The only thing is these shoulder pads with only these two droid arms as connections. These have popped off a few times, but other than that, I have actually had nothing pop off this that I didn't want to. And normally a lot of Lego mechs, they accomplish the look of a mech, but as far as structural integrity and being able to really play with it as you do with a lot of other sets, it becomes a little limited because you do have to adhere to these very fragile joint structures or anything like that. And speaking of, almost all the joints on this are incredibly posable. You do have the shoulder on both sides, and then you do have it posable at the elbow down here. And unfortunately, you don't have any wrists, but you can rotate the hand. So speaking of the arms, both sides actually have their own respective play feature. On this side, we have the Mega Stud Shooter Cannon, which shoots 6 studs rapid fire. And then on the other side over here, we have something that I think shoots the Smooth Tile studs. Of course, pretty standard, almost like flick fire missiles from back in the day. Boom, it'll shoot your stud out. So I'd like to talk about the elbows for a moment, and it's kind of strange, but just hear me out. On a lot of LEGO mechs, you have a lot of exposed Technic and a whole lot of annoying beams and bars that are hanging out, but they went just a little extra mile. I don't know why this impresses me so much, to just put this nice elbow flap over it. They put a nice tile on it so it still looks like a circle, it still looks like a joint, and it doesn't hinder any posability at all, and it looks good. So I don't know why this kind of thing impresses me so much, but it's the little things that LEGO has been doing with these new waves and a lot of these new sets that have impressed me a whole lot. So then going up from the arms, we mentioned it earlier, the shoulder armor here, it is posable, so it works with the arms and it can still cover the joint. But like I said, these have fallen off. These are the only things that have fallen off due to it only being connected by 2 droid arms. So while we're on the shoulders, we're actually going to head on to the backside to talk about these little hydraulic arms that these are meant to simulate. And these look fantastic, and they also function perfectly. I can pose these arms however I want, and these will follow like physics, and it will actually look like this is supported by these arms back here. And then on the backside, other than the arms, we don't really have much going on here, but they do smooth it out, so it looks pretty nice. Not too many studs visible. And then we'll go on to the legs here. They make a nice effort of armoring up and making these legs really thick, like how they look in Universe, to make it seem like a real oversized, stomping beast. And then you can see they make some simulation of some joints here. Now I can't decide on whether the joint is right here, represented by the gray studs, or the joint is right here, represented by this circle tile. And then on the other side, it's kind of replicated with a small, smooth curve right here. So I can't quite decide on where the joint is. Not that it matters, because it doesn't bend at the knee, unfortunately, but it still does look really good. And you do have some like hydraulic looking arms on this side, but these don't do the same thing as the ones up top. And then going down all the way to the bottom, we do have the feet. And they do even add these little tiny toes. And on the bottom side, you don't... So then now, last but not least... So now we're all the way at the bottom, and we're onto the feet. And each foot does have 2 little posable toes here. And it can be posed left to right, so you can kind of put it on some uneven terrain and put the legs at different positions and still have it be level. So I didn't realize it until I was actually done with it, and I didn't connect the dots. But on the bottom side, on each foot, they do have repulsors, so it does make sense for the Ironmonger to fly like it does in Universe. But now this pretty much leaves the chest area, and you can see that's where a lot of that gunmetal gray is. I apologize for the shine, there's just nothing I can do about it. So there isn't really any major downsides to this set, there's just a few small cons, one being the shoulder armor popping off easily, and then also this connection on the torso is incredibly fragile. When you're playing with it just normally in play, you will have this separate just ever so slightly more and more until it completely separates. Now, it's not that bad. It doesn't happen incredibly often, but it's happened often enough that it's annoyed me a little bit. So on the chest here, of course, you can see the big arc reactor sitting right in the middle, front and center. And something I didn't know about this specific arc reactor piece until last night when I happened to glance over at the Ironmonger is that it's glow in the dark. So I've turned off all the lights except for the ring light, and I'm slowly but surely going to turn it off, and you'll see how this piece is actually glow in the dark. Now the video quality is incredibly horrible due to the lack of light, of course, but I do want to showcase this because I thought this was pretty neat. I don't know why they felt the need to include this, but I'm glad that they did. It made me feel like a kid for some reason. Just above the arc reactor, of course, we have the Ironmonger's head, and they do put a nice mold on this like bionicle kneecap piece, I think it is, to actually resemble the Ironmonger. But the headpiece is hinged on with 2 hinges just at the back here, and you can fold it open to get tons of finger space in there to get your minifigure in there. And you can fit one minifigure comfy cozy in here, but their arms pretty much have to be all the way up in the air when you set them down in here. It, of course, isn't actually a problem. You can still close the Ironmonger's head, no problem, with the minifigure hands up in the air. But then besides the face print, we're on to the last and final con of this set is the big gap in between the Ironmonger's head and the shoulder armor. Now, I've already figured out a simple mod that we can do to that one, which you'll get in my mod video that I'll make about this, to help cover up some of the shoulder space, but it is a pretty large gap. Now, of course, LEGO isn't going for a perfectly impenetrable Ironmonger for kids to play with against Iron Man or something. They're, of course, making a toy, but it is kind of a gripe that will take away when you're playing that you can see the pilot sitting in there at some angles. But other than that, like I mentioned, I think LEGO absolutely killed it on this Ironmonger. They do some fantastic arm detailing to make it nice, big, and bulky and armored up like it's supposed to be. And then the legs as well, they made some great effort to put some fantastic detail on here. They tiled up a whole lot of this set, so you can't see too many studs. you actually see the bottom sides of more studs than I think you do the top sides of studs. So Lego going all out on the details can sometimes mean a lot of stickers as well. Now it isn't an incredibly large amount, and the only annoying ones were actually these shoulder armor ones, and that's just because this is sloped and it's kind of skinny. I didn't mess up too many times on here, except for on this far right side one. This sticker is just barely hanging off. Alrighty guys, well other than that, I think we've just about covered it. I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you guys want to see me expand into more other themes or just keep going with Marvel and Star Wars, let me know in the comments and I'll keep it up. Anyways, I hope you guys did enjoy. Let me know if you guys want to see the mod video for this one, because I've already got a few planned. Like I mentioned, the shoulder area could use a little bit of work, and I'm planning a few other things, but I guess we'll see when the time comes. Anyways, I hope you guys did enjoy, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace, fellas.